Hey YouTube, welcome back to Love for Crypto. I just want to say massive thank you for all the support shown from our last video. Again, it couldn't have done it on my own. It was a team combination of the Love for Crypto team, and I just appreciated for the support that's been shown in our previous video, which again was just for educational and awareness purposes for yourself, just to be able to understand the bigger picture of exactly what is going on in this digital asset space, who is involved, how long they've been involved for, and I'm quite sure you can understand, and you've got a great visualization of exactly how the internet of value is playing out. So this video today, I'm going to be talking about the $10 end of year price prediction, why it's going to happen, what legitimate reasons behind it, rather than just there's fundamentals behind the reason why I'm saying this. I'm not just throwing out a rough estimate with no evidence or information to back up the claims, and I just want to go into that today for you. So $10 end of year, why is the Love for Crypto team giving you this as a minimum as well? Bear in mind it is a minimum. It's not to say it's going to end at $10. I do believe it'll go up and above $10, but I'm trying to stay limited, grounded on exactly. Throwing a price prediction out, it's hard to do, as you can all fully understand. There's so many different moving parts to the philosophy behind it. Things can change, delays, all sorts of stuff. But anyway, first of all, let's just talk about fundamentals. So you've got Brett Garlinghouse, who's come out claiming major banks, or at least one bank this year, will be using XRP as a financial asset in order to move money across borders, is one way of putting it. You've also got Yoshi Kittel, who's claimed $10 end of year, alongside SBI becoming the #1 exchange in the world in a blink of an eye. Now, first of all, I can understand that Yoshi Kittel's Twitter feed, where these articles and price predictions have been circulated, retweeted, may not have directly come from Yoshi, but one thing I can guarantee you, it would not have been allowed to have been retweeted or publicly exposed the way it has been if it didn't have his hearsay and approval to do so. I can understand it'll have an administrator, maybe someone as a social media sort of staff, that are working on his platforms. But nonetheless, it's been announced. He's been saying in the blink of an eye it will be the #1 exchange in the world. $10 end of year. Brad Garlinghouse is talking about banks using XRP as a financial asset by the end of this calendar year. Now, just one thing that I do need to talk about, whether it's this calendar year or whether it's the Japanese financial year in regards of Yoshi, that is it's debatable. It's up for debate. That it could be this calendar year, meaning the 31st of December, or it may well be in March when the financial year comes to an end in Japan. But Brett Garlinghouse has claimed this calendar year for banks. And currently at the moment, I'd say on a Monday to Friday, you've probably got an average of between 100 to 200 million in payment volume going through the ledger. Just one thing to understand, you've got your trade volume, which is probably double the ledger volume at a given point. So you could say trade volumes at maybe 500 million a day, and then the payment volume at 250 a day. That's usually how it's been going on for the past couple of weeks. So let's just get one thing out here now. Evidential claim, factual claim again. If we're talking about bank payment flows passing through this ledger, listen, 250 million won't cut it. The payment volume of 250 currently has been well supported by 50 plus cent XRP value to ensure liquidity is there all the time, 24/7 round the clock, to enable the flow of remittance payments. We've gone live. We've got remittance payments running through the ledger. Payment volume, it's out there, it's legit. We are live as claimed. In order for a bank, or banks, plural, listen, the value of XRP is nowhere near enough to support and sustain liquidity in order for bank payment volumes to pass through the ledger. Now, it's okay talking about remittance payments, your $50, your $100, your $200 match payments maybe. that families are sending back home overseas, back to the native country, from the country that they're working in. That's basically what remittance means. That's it's sort of its definition is when you've got a person, he emigrates abroad, works, sends money back home. That is remittance payment. Now, when you talk about bank payments, it is a whole new kettle of fish. As an example, and I'm not claiming it's going to be this bank, I do genuinely believe it's going to be coming. I think SBI is the one to make this happen. We've been discussing this in our Telegram group in detail. Again, it's not just something that's come off the top of my head. With the fundamentals are there behind it, as I've just explained. Brad Garnow has claimed one bank will be using XRP's payment flows this year. Yoshi the $10, Yoshi the blink of the eye exchange. A lot of people written off SBI in June. There was a lot of hype surrounding the exchange, and it sort of died away. And I believe the hype needs to be reinstated. I don't think people fully understood what was happening. So obviously they opened the doors for applications, and for the past 6 months, that's what they've been doing. They've been enrolling customers, enrolling institutional customers into the SBI VC. And currently at the moment, it's not trading. There's no open order books whatsoever. It's just sheerly being an application process. Now I believe that they go OTC in December, and a lot of people are questioning, well, OTC is not going to affect the price. No, it's not going to affect the price. We've seen that all year long. We've been seeing OTC's been going on. As Ripple released in the last Q3 report, they've seen a 400+% increase of institutional buying directly from Ripple. Now, please bear in mind, people, Ripple aren't the only ones that have got these assets that are selling them OTC. Just as an example, Bitfinex do the same thing. I'm presuming Binance are doing the same thing. And that accounts for another various amount of exchanges worldwide that will be participating in OTC trades. So if Ripple have seen a 400% increase, I'm sure everybody else probably have been. I mean, we've been saying it all this year. The price has been suppressed. The price has been brought down. It's clearly been suppressed. For what reason is debatable. Whether it's for all. I'm not just talking about XRP here as well. Don't get me wrong. We are talking the likes of Bitcoin, your Ethereums, your Bitcoin Cashes, your top 20 cryptos. That institutions have got their eyes on in that regard. But I think it's a little bit different for XRP, which I will go into and explain. I believe SBI opened the doors, and they will be able to sell over the counter at this point. And in order for bank payment flows to be passing through the ledger, listen, put it this way. As an example, I think it's CMP, is it? The American bank that they just signed on X-Current. We'll put it this way, their 24-hour volume for settlement is 150 billion plus. One bank. That's just one bank. So as you can imagine, if you want to put that in comparison to today's settlement, and the volume payments on the ledger, it's 250 million. It's way off what it needs to be able to support bank payment volumes in regards of liquidity. And when I say liquidity, I'm talking about the value of the actual asset itself. The value is going to have to be a much higher in order to sustain, liquidity. So it's there on demand 24/7. It's no good in switching on this economic beast, and day one there's no liquidity there for banks. It'll just be an epic failure, and they only get one shot at this, in my opinion. And not only my opinion, opinions of a lot of the administrators in the Telegram group. So what you got to think about is, who is going to be the front runner? Who's going to be the first mover in this, and why would they be the first mover? What makes you believe that they would be? Again, it's all fundamental analysis, this video, talking about supporting the claims of the $10 end of year value. And again, listen, it could be much higher than that. It may only just get to $10, but I'm sticking to it. I've stuck it to it all year. I'm not changing my end of year value. If it goes higher, that's great. It's absolutely great. If people think $10 is unbelievable and it goes higher, then it's great. But I'm sticking to what I've been saying all year, which is the $10. So who's got the incentive to be the first mover? Why would they want to do that? Well, all you've got to do is ask yourself the question, the SBI Ripple Consortium, Ripple Asia, SBI Ripple Asia, they've got a 10.5% stake in Ripple themselves. So they've got every interest of their own to make this work. And listen, when you're talking about people like SBI, they've got billions, if not trillions, in assets under management. And in order to move a market, listen, we're not even talking about manipulation at this point. What we're talking about is here's a little scenario, a little theory that's been talked about in the Telegram group. Everyone's heard the Shane Ellis theory. Okay, now that's great. Yeah, you can put buy walls, sell walls. You can price out all the sell orders, market execute and remove them, put the price, adjust it to where you want. And to a degree, yeah, it could be classed as manipulation. But what we believe what might actually happen is there's a good chance. Obviously, you've got your Ripple preferred exchanges for XRP. Now, what could happen is SBI themselves, VC, they could go out, they could buy up all the XRP from around the world. Where the books are shallow. Listen, it's not that hard, especially for the exchange. I mean, you look at Binance, look at Bittrex. They've got 1 billion XRP in their wallets. Now, if you want to go and look at other exchanges around the world that may be dealing with XRP, the order books will be very, very shallow, and it won't take a lot of money to market execute all the sell orders on there. One theory is SBI themselves, they could go to open order books, buy up all the XRP. Yet again, it's going to cost billions to do so, potentially billions, tens of billions. It's a lot of money. In the great scheme of things, it's pennies. It really is pennies to these banks. It really is. The scenario we're stuck in is what came first, the chicken or the egg. You can't offer this liquidity service to banks if there is no liquidity. But you don't want to offer liquidity if there's no banks using the liquidity. Does that make sense? I hope it does, because that's basically how easy it is. That's the catch-22, what we're in at the moment. So yeah, we've got liquid XRP, it's great for remittances, but for bank payments, and this is a known fact, in order to support higher value payments, we need a higher value XRP to provide and to ensure liquidity is there on demand around the clock. And in order to do this, we've got the Ripple exchange, preferred exchanges that are going to be dealing with the X-Rapid side of things. Now, these are the exchanges that are going to bring the value to the table. Listen, if the Ripple exchange value is, let's just call it $10 and the rest of the world's 50 cents, you're going to get arbitrage instantly. People will be pulling out their exchanges to go and sell to your Binance. Binance hasn't been confirmed. I'm pretty sure it will be at some point. But listen, all these exchanges around the world that have got a 50-cent value XRP, if SBI can push it up in the Ripple preferred partners, if they can push the value up on there, you are going to get arbitrage. Not only that, the exchanges that have got the XRP on there might look and think, well, listen, we need to put this in line with these exchanges, otherwise our exchanges are going to become illiquid. So either way you want to look at it, the value in those exchanges is going to rise up anyway. It could either eliminate all the unknown, smaller scale exchanges, and all the liquidity of XRP will completely be eradicated as people who own them on there run over to the higher value exchanges and sell them on there, obviously at a profit. You're going to get arbitrage, you're going to get slippage, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, it's very possible to do so. And I know this is getting a bit long-winded, but the way that I'm trying to explain it is so you fully do understand how SBI could do this. So SBI could, market order all the XRP and the sell orders on exchanges. They could put the prices up on the Ripple preferred exchanges, and yeah, they could slap a big, massive buy wall underneath it to prevent order sellers. People will sell at $10. You're going to see it happening from across the world as all these other XRP people, whether it's the exchange themselves or the people that hold them, are going to come rushing to these exchanges to sell them at $10, meaning that the exchanges are going to keep deepening the liquidity for the XRP, which is what we need really. We need the XRP preferred exchanges to hold the deep liquidity pockets, because it will be those exchanges that will be dealing with these payment flows. Now, it won't take a lot of capital to do that. It really won't. It might seem a lot to you, to myself, when we're talking billions, tens of billions, whatever it'll cost. It's a lot of money, but in the great scheme of things, for the long-term plan, it really is nothing. If we're talking about putting this ledger and we're putting billions, trillions through it in a 24-hour volume. It's just one leap of faith. And all you have to do is remember yourself, SBI have got 11% stake in Ripple, and presuming they've got some sort of possession over the escrow, the amount of XRP that they've got. And they'll have XRP themselves, of course they will. Of course they've got XRP. So if they can increase the value on these exchanges, then it works for them. Yeah, they've got to put a little bit of money out to begin with, but it works for them. But more importantly, it will enable banks to be able to send payment flows through the ledger at this point, because a $10 XRP is a lot more liquid than a 50-cent XRP. And listen, $10 is the bottom end. Who's not to say it can go to $50? It's been thrown around in discussions that it's more than, listen, it's more than possible to take it to $50. It's more than possible to take it to $100. It is more than possible to take it to $200. Hey, 589 isn't even out the question. I've always supported the fact that it can happen. Is it probable? No. Only my personal opinion. Hey, listen, I could be fucking wrong. I could be wrong, and it could absolutely wipe that look off my face when it gets to 589 in just complete disarray, whatever the word is, you know what I mean. SBI, in our opinion, for the Love for Crypto team, is key in making this scale to the next size value of payments. And a lot of people laugh it off, they really will do. But one thing I know for certain, and it's a guaranteed fact, listen, this is the truth. If you used to put a bank using payment flows on this ledger right now, listen, it would be cheaper to use Swift. The spreads would just become absolutely ridiculous at one end of the scale to the other, and it would really be it would not be cost effective whatsoever. So that's what you've got to take in consideration. We need to have a deepening of liquidity, and by doing so, we need to make the open market value, the spot price, a lot more higher to ensure a lot more liquidity for larger payments. Look, we're getting $50, $100, $150 payments going through for remittances. What happens when one of these banks wants to settle a 2 million transaction, and it just completely eradicates the order book, sends the value up high on one exchange, and when it's got to go and sell it, it's pushing the price down. You've got a spread that's not tight enough and won't ensure maximal profitability. Like I said, it will actually cost more to use XRapid than Swift. So something needs to happen. We need injected capital somewhere along the line. That's a given fact. Who's going to provide it? Well, listen, SBI isn't one bank, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, it's a consortium of 60 plus banks, and you've got the likes of MUFG in there, who are in the top 10 banks of the world. And listen, a couple of billion, you know, tens of billions is nothing to these partners. It really is nothing to them. And if we want to step up the scale of payments, which Brad Garnhouse is claiming by the end of the year, we will have a bank, plural banks, using XRP as a financial asset for payments. Listen, 50 cent ain't going to cut it. 50 cent is not going to cut it. That's all I will say. So this is where we get our $10 from. We've got the likes of Yoshi who's coming out saying it, and he's also claiming his exchange will be #1 in the blink of an eye, meaning there's going to be a lot of volume coming through that exchange when it eventually does kick off. Meaning, listen, they're the type of people that can do the damage to the order books. Listen, we've got a lot of OTC going on at the moment, but SBI could buy up all the cheap. Listen, this is what they could do. They could buy it all up cheap, open orders across the world. For your 50 cents, it might push it to $1. Who cares? Because listen, finally, when they do buy up everything that they need to do, they can push this where they want to put the listen. They could put it to $10, $20, $30, and then listen, when SBI is open for OTC, they can then sell it on to their customers when it's at this value. Do you understand what I'm saying? So just a little bit of injected capital into this ecosystem. SBI can benefit greatly from doing so. Customers can then obviously come on board. They've got insured liquidity there. It's going to be an interesting fucking year, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can say. I'm going to try and keep this video short. Again, I'm going to try and do the daily podcast. But that's my take on the $10. Listen, SBI are going to do something. It's been claimed by the president. Brad Garnhouse has claimed banks are going to use XRP for payment flows this year. Something has to give somewhere, because the 50 cent XRP is not liquid enough to sustain payment flows of banks. It's that simple. It really is that simple. As I've just said, you know, you've got banks that are settling 150 billion in a day. Now compare that to the 200 million that's going through the payment volume. As you can see, listen, XRP would become illiquid. It wouldn't even be cost effective. It would be backwards is probably the best way. You're better off going through Swift. You might take a bit longer time, but you'd be getting it cheaper. So we need to ensure we've got liquidity. We need the open order books. We need the open market price of XRP to shoot up. You know, whether they're going to price out the market and take up to $50, $200, and then listen, the retail investors are going to be happy. They'll sell out XRPs back into the hand of the banks, and they can continue to do what they need to do. Who knows, ladies and gentlemen, who knows? But I'll leave it at that, and I'll leave that one with you to have a little think about, because that's where we're coming from. We believe SBI are in this massively, and we think they're the ones that are going to make this happen. Just give us a like, leave some comments. Let's have a talk, let's get a discussion, join the Telegram group. Peace out.